They thought she was just a number, a name easily erased in Detroit's grinding judicial machine. A quiet black girl, barely noticed, trembling in oversized prison garb, standing before a judge already set to stamp her fate without glancing up. Aisha Thompson, 18, charged with hacking a banking system, stealing millions, a crime she didn't commit. But in that icy courtroom, no one cared about the truth. Judge Ronald Harris, with a faint smirk, banged his gavel. Life without parole. No explanation, no eye contact. As if Aisha's life was just a scrap of paper, crumpled and tossed. They thought she'd vanish, like so many young black lives in this city, crushed by the system without a sound. They were wrong. Aisha wasn't ordinary. She held a secret that could shake the system to its core. And with one message, just one, she sparked a fire that would bring Detroit's most powerful to their knees, begging for mercy. Picture this. Aisha, small and unyielding, stands in the courtroom, wrists cuffed tight, her gaze unwavering. In the back row, her father, Marcus Thompson, a bus driver, grips the chair's armrests, clinging to the last shards of hope. No one speaks up. No lawyer, no witnesses, no chance for Aisha to defend herself. The system had decided. She's a criminal, a dangerous hacker. The perfect scapegoat to clear the way for Sterling Group's billion-dollar casino project, set to bulldoze the black neighborhood where Aisha grew up. They thought she was easy prey, a girl no one would miss, with no one behind her. They didn't know who Aisha was. She wasn't just a tech-savvy kid. She was the daughter of Karen Walker, FBI Midwest Regional Director, the most powerful woman in law enforcement. And when Aisha asked to send one message before being led away, she typed words that stopped the world. Mom said justice protects the innocent. I need you now. That message wasn't just a plea. It was a declaration of war. This story isn't just about Aisha. It's about everyone who's felt the system turn its back, who thought their voice was too small to matter. Get ready, because what happens next will keep you glued. When are you watching and from where? Drop a comment. We want to know where you are in this journey. Now step into the story of a girl, a message, and a system about to be toppled. The Detroit courtroom feels heavy, as if the walls themselves are pressing against your chest. Flickering light from old fluorescent bulbs casts a harsh glow on faces, hardened by watching justice twist and bend. At the center, Aisha Thompson stands, just 18, a black girl with neatly braided hair and sharp eyes, swallowed by a baggy orange prison jumpsuit. Her wrists are cuffed, the cold steel chafing her slim hands, a constant reminder that this system was never built for people like her. Aisha doesn't cry, doesn't tremble, just stands tall, staring at Judge Ronald Harris like she could see through his polished facade. But Harris, with his silver hair and a faint smile, like he's reading a grocery list, doesn't look up from his file. Hacking a banking system, stealing millions, he declares, voice flat as a machine. Life without parole. Just like that, no explanation, no chance for Aisha to speak. The room falls deathly silent. No one objects, no one breathes loud. Only the creak of a wooden chair as her father, Marcus Thompson, grips the armrests, trying to hold onto what's left of his daughter. Marcus, a 65-year-old bus driver, has spent his life navigating Detroit's rough streets. He raised Aisha alone since she was a baby, after her mother, Karen Walker, left him to chase power in Chicago. Marcus taught Aisha to stand tall when the world tried to knock her down, to code on a beat-up laptop she loved, and to believe justice, though slow, would come. But now, in the back row, he feels the world collapsing. His eyes blur with unshed tears, yet he watches Aisha, willing her to know he's still there, even if it can't change the brutal sentence. Aisha doesn't look back. She can't. Not because she doesn't want to, but because she knows one glance at her father's eyes would crack the strength she's fought to hold through the trial. They thought Aisha was easy prey. A black girl from a poor neighborhood, where crumbling wooden houses stand abandoned and dreams often die young. She was charged with hacking Detroit's banking system, a crime straight out of a Hollywood script. But no one in that room cared if the evidence held up. A forged piece of code, no witnesses, no fingerprints, Just a story spun by those behind the curtain. Sterling Group, a notorious real estate conglomerate, wants to turn Aisha's neighborhood into a glitzy casino, and they need obstacles cleared. Aisha, with her blog posts opposing the project and free coding classes for local kids, became a thorn in their side. She wasn't loud, didn't protest, but her presence, her brilliance, scared them. So they made her a scapegoat, a name to erase for their billion-dollar plan. But Aisha isn't the nobody they assumed. She's a girl who taught herself to code from library books, wrote programs to help the neighbor's grocery store track inventory, and dreamed of using her skills to lift her community. She's no hacker, no criminal. She's a daughter of Detroit, and she knows the value of truth. As the bailiff leads her out, Aisha pauses, her voice slicing the air like a thin blade. "I want to send a message," she says, not loud, not angry, but firm enough to halt the guard. They shrug, handing her an old phone. Aisha types slowly, each word carved like stone. The message goes to a number she hasn't contacted in over a decade. Her mother, Karen Walker, FBI Midwest Regional Director, the most powerful woman in law enforcement, who left Aisha too young to understand why. Mom said justice protects the innocent. Aisha writes, "I need you now." In Chicago, hundreds of miles away, Karen Walker stands before a room of FBI agents, her voice sharp and commanding, as if she could bend the world with words. Her phone buzzes, an unknown number. She almost silences it, but something, a gut feeling, an old ache, makes her open the message. Seconds later, her face pales. Aisha's words hit like a knife, cutting through the armor Karen built over years. She told herself leaving Aisha was for the greater good, that she'd change the system from within, that one day her daughter would understand. But now, her daughter stands in the crosshairs of the very system Karen swore to uphold, and it's crushing her. Karen grips the phone, the meeting room fading. She knows this message isn't just a cry for help. It's a reminder, a reckoning, and her last chance to fix what she broke. This story didn't start in the courtroom. It began long ago, on Detroit's dusty streets, where a black girl dreamed of justice, and a mother thought power was the answer to everything. But now, with Aisha's message sent, she's lit a fire no one, not even the most powerful, can extinguish. What happens next will keep you riveted. Join us in this journey, because this isn't just Aisha's story. It's the story of everyone the system has turned its back on. The world seems to freeze, leaving only the thundering pulse in her chest. In Chicago, in a sleek glass-walled conference room, Karen Walker, FBI Midwest Regional Director, stands gripping her phone, its screen still glowing with Aisha's message. "Mom said justice protects the innocent. I need you now." Those words aren't just a text. They're a blade, slicing through the armor Karen built over 13 years. She once thought power was the answer, that leaving Detroit, leaving her daughter, was the price to change the system from within. But now her daughter, Aisha Thompson, stands in the crosshairs of that system, sentenced to life for a crime she didn't commit. Karen feels the floor beneath her crumbling. She cancels every meeting, says nothing to her team, and walks out, her eyes icy, but hands trembling. She knows if she doesn't act now, she'll lose Aisha forever. This time it's not a choice. It's a final call to fix what she broke. Karen catches the first flight to Detroit, a city she swore she'd never return to. As the plane lands, she stands at the airport, staring through the glass at familiar streets, where she was once a young girl with big dreams. But Detroit isn't home anymore. It's a battlefield. She drives straight to the black neighborhood on the city's east side, where weathered wooden houses huddle amid overgrown vacant lots. Her father Marcus Thompson's house still stands, its peeling paint and creaking porch groaning with every gust. Karen pauses at the door, clutching her suitcase handle, heart pounding like she's facing her own trial. When Marcus opens the door, he says nothing, just looks at her with eyes heavy with the years she missed. "The girl needs you," he says, his voice rough, breaking from somewhere deep. "Where have you been?" Karen's throat tightens. She wants to explain, to say she was fighting for a greater cause, but in front of her father, every excuse dissolves. "I was wrong, Dad," she whispers. but I'm here to make it right. Karen doesn't let herself linger in emotion. She sits at the worn kitchen table where Aisha once did homework, writing her first lines of code on a beat-up laptop. Karen opens her own laptop, accessing FBI databases with her director-level clearance. She types Aisha Thompson. The file pops up, disturbingly thin. A piece of code labeled as evidence, but no fingerprints, no access logs, no witnesses. Just a report from the prosecutor's office, signed by Judge Ronald Harris. Karen smells a setup. She's seen it hundreds of times in her career. Cases rushed through, sentences stamped without questions. But this isn't some stranger's name. It's her daughter. Then she finds a detail that chills her blood. Sterling Group, the real estate giant behind a billion-dollar casino project, is mentioned in an internal note tied to Aisha's case. The note is brief but damning. Handle quickly. Leave no trace. She calls Derek Brooks, a court technician who worked under Harris. Derek, a black man in his 30s, has tired eyes, like he's seen too much he wishes he hadn't. They meet at a small diner on Detroit's outskirts, where burnt coffee mingles with the hum of an old soul track on the radio. Derek sits across from Karen, twisting his coffee mug, voice low like the walls might hear. Harris works for Sterling Group, he says. They pay him to fast-track convictions, especially for people like Aisha, ones who speak out against their projects. Karen leans forward, her voice sharp as a knife. You got proof. Derek hesitates, his eyes flicking to the window, as if weighing whether to bolt right then. But he nods. There's a hard drive in the court storage room. It's got the original code they say Aisha used to hack. I saw it. It's not hers. It's fabricated. Karen's heart races. Then why didn't you say anything? Derek looks down, his voice breaking. I've got a family, Ms. Walker. I was scared. Karen doesn't let Derek drown in his fear. She knows time isn't on their side. If Aisha gets transferred to state prison, the chance to save her will vanish. She stands, locking eyes with Derek. I'm scared too, she says. But I'm more scared of losing my daughter. That night, under Detroit's pitch-black sky, Karen and Derek slip into the courthouse through a side door Derek knows well. The halls are dark, lit only by flickering emergency lights, like a warning to turn back. Karen, honed by years as an FBI agent, takes the lead, spray paint in hand to disable cameras. They reach the storage room, a cold space stacked with metal shelves and black boxes. Karen finds the hard drive labeled Thompson Aisha. But as she grabs it, footsteps echo in the hall. A guard, his flashlight beam sweeping the door. Karen and Derek hold their breath, pressed against the shelves. The footsteps close in, the door rattling. Karen clutches the drive, heart pounding. She whispers to Derek, "Run. Now." They bolt for the back exit, the flashlight chasing, the guard shouting. Karen leads Derek down a side stairwell, leaping over a railing, and out an emergency door. They make it to her car as the guard's headlights sweep past. Karen floors the gas, the car tearing into the dark, the hard drive in her hand like a ticking bomb. They reach Marcus's house, where he waits on the porch, eyes full of worry but asking nothing. Karen sets the drive on the table, her breath still ragged. "This is the truth," she says, voice shaking but resolute. "This will bring Aisha back." Marcus looks at her, for the first time in years, with a flicker of something like trust. But both know this drive isn't just about Aisha. It's the key to a bigger secret, a web of corruption woven deep into Detroit's core. And Karen, for the first time, isn't fighting for titles or power. She's fighting for her daughter, for what she left behind, and for everyone else the system tried to erase. Detroit's night sky hangs heavy as lead, thick black clouds blotting out the moon, as if the city itself is hiding its secrets. Karen Walker sits in her father's weathered kitchen, the dim glow of a table lamp sharpening the tense lines of her face. The hard drive she and Derek Brooks risked everything to steal from the courthouse sits on the table, cold and silent. But Karen knows it's a bomb waiting to detonate. She plugs it into her laptop, the screen flaring to life, displaying the code they claim Aisha used to hack the bank. Karen scrolls through each line, each character, and feels her blood run cold. This isn't Aisha's code. She knows, because she saw her daughter coding as a kid on the beat-up laptop Marcus bought from a pawn shop. This code is too perfect, too clean, like it was crafted by a hired expert to frame her. Karen clenches her fists, nails digging into her palms. They didn't just want to lock Aisha up, she whispers, voice trembling with rage. They wanted to erase her. Marcus stands in the corner, leaning on his old wooden cane, his eyes heavy with a lifetime's pain. So, what are you going to do, Karen? He asks, his voice rough, breaking from the years she left behind. Karen doesn't answer right away. She knows this drive is a key, but it's not enough alone. Detroit's justice system, with Judge Ronald Harris and Sterling Group pulling strings, has built a wall too thick for one person to crack. She needs something bigger, something to shake the city to its core. Then, like a lightning bolt in the dark, a name hits her, Tanya Lewis. Tanya, Harris's former clerk, worked in the courthouse over a decade ago. Karen had heard whispers about Tanya, that she fled Detroit after seeing something too horrific to speak of. Karen digs out Tanya's number from an old contact list, her fingers shaking as she dials. When Tanya's weary voice answers, Karen knows this is her last shot. They meet the next morning at a small diner in Cleveland, a few hours' drive from Detroit. Tanya Lewis, now 40, is no longer the vibrant clerk she once was. She wears a plain gray coat, her curly hair tied back, but her eyes still burn with a fire that never died. She sits across from Karen, clutching her coffee, silent for minutes that feel like centuries. Why'd you track me down? Tanya finally asks, her voice low but sharp as a blade. Karen doesn't sugarcoat it. I need the truth about Harris, and I know you have it. Tanya gives a bitter smile, but it doesn't hide the fear in her eyes. You don't get it, Ms. Walker. What I know doesn't just take down Harris. It'll bring down a whole system. Karen leans forward, her voice solid as stone. Then let it fall. My daughter's paying for their lies. Tanya studies Karen, searching for a hint of hesitation. She finds none, only resolve. Tanya sighs, pulling a small USB drive from her bag and setting it on the table like it weighs a ton. This is what you need, she says. A video. Harris taking cash from Sterling Group, right in his office. I recorded it 12 years ago, before I left. But if you use it, they won't spare you. Or me. Karen's heart pounds. She grabs the USB, fingers tightening like it might vanish. Will you testify? She asks, almost a whisper. Tanya looks out the window, where cars pass in the morning's faint light. I've been running too long, she says. Fine, I'll testify. But you have to promise to protect people like Aisha, the ones this system shouldn't crush. Karen nods, and for the first time in days, she feels a spark of hope. But she knows this USB is a double-edged sword. It could save Aisha, but it could also drag her and Tanya into a storm no one walks away from unscathed. Back in Detroit, Karen contacts Jamal Carter, a fearless independent journalist known for exposés that keep politicians up at night. Jamal, with short curly hair and eyes always hunting for truth, agrees to meet Karen at an abandoned warehouse on the city's outskirts. You're playing a dangerous game, Jamal says as Karen hands him the USB and hard drive. But I like dangerous. Jamal doesn't wait. He opens his laptop right there, watching the video. Harris, in his office, taking a stack of cash from a man in a suit, who Karen recognizes as Victor Steele, Sterling Group CEO. Harris's voice in the clip is cold, clear. Stick to the plan. No one's gonna ask questions. Jamal whistles, eyes gleaming. This isn't just evidence. It's a nuke. He doesn't publish immediately. Instead, he crafts a Twitter thread. Each post a dagger. Aisha Thompson, 18, wrongfully convicted of bank hacking. Here's the original code, not hers. Here's the video. Harris taking bribes. And here's the list. 42 others he sent to prison to clear Sterling Group's path. He hits send, and within minutes, his phone buzzes wildly. The post spread like wildfire, from Detroit to Chicago, then nationwide. Crowds gather outside Detroit's courthouse, Handmade signs raised high. Justice for Aisha. Stop Sterling Group. Students, teachers, neighbors from Aisha's black community all show up, their chants thundering. Karen watches from a distance, her heart racing as the crowd swells. This isn't just her fight anymore. It's a movement. But she knows Sterling Group won't sit idle, and Harris, with all his power, will do anything to snuff out this fire. In a cold cell, Aisha still knows nothing of what's happening, but she feels it like a shift in the wind. She clenches her fists, whispering to herself, "Mom heard me." And out there, Karen, for the first time, isn't an FBI director. She's a mother, ready to burn the system down to bring her daughter home. That night, Detroit is ablaze. The cold streets, where streetlights flicker weakly, now pulse with the footsteps of hundreds, the chants for justice, and the heartbeat of a city long forced into silence. Outside the courthouse, the crowd keeps growing, handmade signs held high. Justice for Aisha. End Sterling Group. Jamal Carter's Twitter posts have spread like wildfire, each word a dagger into the heart of a corrupt system. The forged code, the hidden video of Judge Ronald Harris taking bribes from Victor Steele, all of it has exploded, racking up millions of views in hours. But Karen Walker knows this fire isn't hot enough yet. Sterling Group, with its tangled connections and bottomless pockets, will do anything to snuff it out. They never lose. Never let a girl like Aisha Thompson or a mother like Karen flip the game. But Karen is ready for the final play. And this time, she's not moving in the shadows. Sterling Group, in a desperate counterstrike, hosts a lavish charity gala at the Renaissance Center, Detroit's tallest building, where crystal chandeliers mask their dirty secrets. They invite the city's elite, politicians, tycoons, and Judge Harris, who strides in with a smug grin, as if the bribery video is just a passing rumor. Victor Steele, Sterling Group CEO, in a glossy black suit, takes the stage, microphone in hand, his voice smooth as velvet. "We're committed to a brighter future for Detroit," he says, eyes sweeping over the clapping upper crust. Recent allegations are lies from those who'd halt progress. The crowd nods, champagne glasses clinking, but something in the air is cracking, and it's about to shatter. Karen, with Aisha, now temporarily released due to public pressure, and Jamal Carter stand at the ballroom's entrance. Aisha, in a simple green dress, looks small beside her mother, but her eyes are sharp as knives, carrying the fire from the courtroom. Karen holds her daughter's hand, heart pounding, not from fear. She's been waiting for this since Aisha's message. Jamal, with a mischievous grin, clutches a USB with Tanya Lewis's video, already hacked into the gala's audio and screens. "Ready, Ms. Walker?" he asks, voice buzzing with excitement. Karen nods, her tone cold as steel. "Show them the truth." Jamal hits a button, and the ballroom plunges into darkness for a second. Then the main screen, taller than 3 stories, flares to life. Harris's face appears in his office, taking a wad of cash from Steele. His voice echoes, "Stick to the plan. No one's gonna ask." The crowd freezes, champagne glasses shattering on the floor. Steele on stage goes pale, the mic slipping from his hand. Harris leaps up, face contorted, yelling, "Turn it off! Turn it off!" But no one listens. Every eye is glued to the screen. Karen steps onto the stage. No mic needed, her voice cutting the air like a blade. "Victor Steele," she says, staring into his eyes. "You thought money could buy justice. You thought you could erase my daughter, erase our neighborhood, for a casino? Tonight you lose." The crowd erupts, boos thundering like a tidal wave. Steele stammers, "This is a setup. You've got nothing." But Aisha steps forward, beside her mother, her voice small but steady as stone. "I'm not a hacker. I'm just a girl trying to protect my home. And now the world knows the truth." The crowd roars, phones raised, live streaming the moment everywhere. Steele panics, bolting for a back exit. But the crowd blocks him, chants of justice. Justice, drowning out everything. Police, tipped off by Jamal, arrive, cuffing Steele on stage. Harris, ashen, is led away amid jeers. That moment, like an earthquake, shakes Detroit to its core. But the fight doesn't stop. Public pressure forces Michigan's Judicial Commission to act. Harris is removed the next day, and Judge Olivia Grant, a black woman known for fairness, is assigned to retry Aisha's case. The new trial feels different. No empty seats, no deadly silence. The courtroom is packed. Aisha's neighbors, students, activists, families who lost loved ones to Harris. Derek Brooks takes the stand, his voice shaky but firm. "I saw Harris rig Aisha's case," he says. "The code wasn't hers. I stayed quiet too long, but now I'm telling the truth." Karen sits behind Aisha, gripping her hand, heart racing. Judge Grant, eyes sharp, reviews the original code, the bribery video, and the list of 42 others Harris wrongfully convicted. She bangs her gavel, her voice like thunder. This court finds Aisha Thompson not guilty. The prior sentence is vacated. The room explodes, claps, sobs, cheers. Aisha turns, hugging Karen tight, feeling her mother's warmth for the first time in 13 years. But Karen knows this isn't the end. It's a beginning. Outside, the crowd rallies, not just for Aisha, but for all those erased by the system. They hold signs with the names of the 42 others, now with a shot at exoneration. Karen steps out of the courthouse, Aisha at her side, seeing the crowd and feeling a power she never knew. Jamal in the throng holds up his phone, live streaming to the world. "This is Detroit," he says, voice proud. "This is justice." But Karen knows Sterling Group has cards left to play. To protect Aisha, to protect others like her, she must keep fighting. She takes Aisha's hand, whispering, "I'm not leaving you again." Aisha nods, her eyes blazing like fire. They descend the courthouse steps, not to flee, but to face what lies ahead. Detroit isn't the same anymore. Not because the streets are suddenly cleaner or the old buildings sprouted anew. No, it's the air. A sense that justice, though slow, has finally found its way. Aisha Thompson steps from the courthouse, no cuffs, no orange jumpsuit, just a simple white shirt, her braids gleaming in the sun. The crowd outside roars, handmade signs aloft. Justice for Aisha. Justice for the 42. But Aisha doesn't wave or smile for cameras. She holds her mother Karen Walker's hand and her father Marcus Thompson's, descending the steps, her eyes burning with unquenchable fire. She didn't just win her freedom. She sparked a movement, and that fire is spreading. Aisha doesn't return to a quiet life. She opens a community center called Code for Truth in Detroit's black neighborhood. An old, boarded-up shop becomes a hub where kids gather every afternoon, toting worn backpacks and big dreams. Aisha stands before them, holding her trusty old laptop, pointing to the first lines of code she ever wrote. "This code is your voice," she says, soft but certain. "Every line you write, every idea you build, tells the world you matter." Karen stands in the corner, quiet, no longer an FBI director, just a mother learning to stay. Marcus sits by the window, cane in hand, his smile saying this is what he's waited for. Code for Truth isn't just a center. It's a movement. Other cities launch similar programs. Black kids, once ignored by the system, now learning to code their way to a voice. The list of Harris's 42 victims becomes a symbol, and Sterling Group faces a federal probe. One day, a letter arrives, no stamp, no seal, just a few handwritten lines. "Thank you, Aisha, for reminding me what justice means." Signed FBI. Life teaches us that the smallest voice can shake a system. A message, a line of code, a moment of courage. That's how change starts. Don't wait for power or the perfect time. Act today. Share a story. Help a neighbor. Speak for what's right. You are the fire. If this story hit you, like the video, share it, and subscribe for more tales of justice. What have you stood up for? Tell us in the comments. This is Detroit, and this is just the beginning.